you're not getting a jump start because the plant decided that its whole life was going to be in a small container and it's already trying to reproduce.
Hi, welcome to Lilies and Tomatoes, your go-to place for simple and practical tips and tricks on how to start a garden all the way through how to use what you grow. This is from my live class that I teach on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on Facebook. If you'd like to attend a live class or ask me a question, check out the link in the description.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my basement workshop. This is week 2 of the tomato grow along. So this week we're going to be talking about choosing seeds of tomatoes you want to grow, selecting seedlings, planting them, and watering them. If we have not met yet, my name is Quincey Adams, and I want to help you grow some of your own food in a small space on a budget. Let's get started. Okay, so with tomatoes, they come in a huge variety of different sizes, shapes, and colors. So I just wanted to show you guys first some of the different sizes, shapes, and colors that I have to give you an idea of like what you might be looking for. Because I promise you the 3 different kinds they have in the grocery store is not all that there is. So let's start with sizes. So I've got this Tiny Tim variety. This is a dwarf determinate variety. So this plant is going to be, the whole plant's going to be small and all of the fruit are going to be small. And this is like a cherry or a grape size. There's, depending on who you ask, there's different names for these categories. So I'm just going to give you some general categories and because it doesn't really matter that much. So this is a cherry. I call them cherries. There's also a pear shape. This is, what is this? This is a yellow pear tomato. So this kind of actually is shaped kind of like a old school light bulb. So there's another shape and another color. This is a yellow tomato. This tomato is an opalka tomato. This is a Roma type tomato. So they have a long elongated shape, and Roma tomatoes are really good for making sauce. That's why there's so many different varieties of Roma tomatoes. They have low water content and very few seeds. So they're great for making sauce. This is a porter tomato. This is actually an egg-shaped tomato, but it's also like, it's kind of a medium size. So this is what people are generally gonna call like a slicer tomato. It's good for salads, that size. So that is something like this size is going to be what you see a lot in the grocery store. And then this tomato is a Cascaluto Genovese. This is a large tomato, so this would be a beefsteak variety tomato. So if you're buying tomato starts at a big box store, they're generally going to be either it's going to be called like a cherry or a grape, or a Roma or beefsteak. Other names I don't see that often. And a lot of times you're going to see hybrids, or like they're named tomato, or just tomatoes just going to be a beefsteak. So that's not an heirloom tomato. Who knows what that is? It was probably bred for pest resistance, not flavor. But that just gives you a general idea of the sizes that they come in. Now let's quickly go over some of the other colors that they have, or at least that I have in my collection right now. This is a great white tomato, so they come in white, and this is a beefsteak size tomato. This gobstopper is a yellow and green. This is a cherry tomato. This is supposed to be a very prolific tomato, but the shades are yellow and green in this one when it's ripe. This is a Dr. Witchy's tomato, so this is going to be yellow. This is also going to be a pretty large tomato, a beefsteak size. This is Blueberry's tomato, so this is going to be red and purple or blue when it's ripe. This is a Brandywine black tomato, so the colors on this one are going to be somewhere in the purple to black range. And this is a Black Beauty tomato. So when these are ripe, these are going to be very, very dark. Lots of anthocyanins in here. So when you're picking seeds that you want to start, you want to definitely check to see if it's determinate
or indeterminate, and I will show you that on the back of this packet. It should say, but if it doesn't say, assume that it's indeterminate, because that's what most of them are. So this one is a dwarf determinate. So this is going to be a very small plant. So if you have only a small amount of space and you have a container that is like 3 gallons-ish, then you want to grow something like this. You want to pick up something that says determinate or dwarf determinate on it, and you want it, this is going to be a small plant, and this will be okay in a small container. Anything larger, anything that's determinate, you really want a container that's at least 5 gallons. 5 gallons is a good amount. If you're growing something that's a very large tomato like this one, that's going to be a beefsteak size, or something that says that it's a very large tomato, then you want to give it a little bit more space. So you want to go up to like a 7-gallon container, just to make sure that you've got enough space for the roots to get a strong root system so it can support growing more for the plant. So that's picking seeds for the size of the container you have, for the amount of space you have. Tomatoes need a lot of light when they're growing. So if wherever you're going to set your tomato, you want to make sure that it's getting a good 8 hours of sun every day. If it's not getting enough sun, it's not gonna do well. So the plant will grow, but it might not set fruit. Also, if it's really, really hot where you're trying to grow and temperatures above 90 degrees, a lot of times tomatoes will drop their blossoms because the plant is stressed out and it can't produce fruit. So if you've got plants and they're growing well, and then the flowers all drop because it's been hot, don't throw your plants away. It's fine, it'll recover. It just needs some cooler temperatures. And if you can set up some sunshades, then sunshades are something you should definitely look into if you're having trouble getting fruit because it's too hot where you're trying to grow your tomatoes. Now, if you want to grow tomatoes from seedling that you buy in the store, then, I mean, these are still little yet. These are gobstoppers. But you want to make sure that the plant looks healthy in general. If it's got some dried up leaves, that's fine. But you do not want to buy the tomato with fruit on it already. You're not getting a jump start, because the plant decided that its whole life was going to be in a small container and it's already trying to reproduce. You want the plant to grow some more. So if you're in the store and the one that looks the healthiest already has fruit on it, you got to pick the fruit off, because the plant will do overall better and it will produce better for you if you either don't pick that one or you take the fruit off when you buy it in the store. So you don't want it to already have flowers on it. You don't want it to already have fruit on it, because that plant has decided that it's done growing and is going to do its best to produce a tiny amount of fruit so it can reproduce. That's not setting your plant up for success. Now let's talk about planting. So when you plant tomatoes, like say I was going to plant these, can you see in there? So there's a couple inches of stem in here. I would plant these very deep. And I actually did a video where I showed uppotting something that had volunteered in a small container, and I was planting it very deep. So I would take these leaves off right here, just like this. These are itty bitty, so I would do that, and I would plant it in the dirt up to here on both of these and let them grow. And I'm not sure if this is coming up. You guys can see that. There are tiny hairs. Oops, let's see. Can we get this? I'm not sure if this is coming through. But along the stem, there are tiny hairs. Those tiny hairs will form into roots if you plant this deep. So that's better for your tomato plant. So you definitely, when you're planting it for the first time, plant it as deep as possible. Don't bury the leaves. Any leaves that would normally be buried, you want to take those off first, but you want to make sure you're planting it deep. Tomatoes need a lot of water. So particularly if you're in somewhere where it's hot, like close to 90, over 90 every day, you want to make sure that you're watering it well. Don't just water it every day, check the soil. So what you want to do is just like take your finger and stick it into the soil up to your second knuckle. So like this deep. And then if the soil is dry down that low, then water it. Make sure you water it well and water it enough that the water is going to get all the way down to the bottom of the container that you have it in. If you have it in the ground, then it's going to be a little bit less susceptible to drying out quickly, because there's going to be water trapped in the ground that the tomatoes' roots can reach towards. But also, you want to make sure that you're mulching them. So if you've got these in a container, you want to cover the top of the container with some kind of mulch. I am using cocoa mulch, or cocoa chips. That's what the brand is. That's what they're called. So it's like the cocoa coir that I use. It helps retain moisture, but it's just a bigger chunk. So that's something that I'm trying this year for mulch. You can also use cardboard. You can use plastic. My earth boxes, they come with a plastic mulch cover. So the good thing about those is it's going to keep your plant from getting overwatered. The bad thing is if it's raining, then your plant's not going to benefit from the rain really, but it will keep it from getting overwatered, and it will help keep the moisture into the container for the tomato. That's pretty much it for what I had for today, unless anyone has any questions about growing tomatoes. Next week, we will get into the nutritional needs of your tomato plants and pruning them, and just the different kinds of pests or diseases that you can have with tomatoes. That's really all you guys need to know to get started. Any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions, so that's it for tonight. I will see you next week. And let me just recap real quick. So tomatoes come in all different kinds of shapes and sizes. There are indeterminate tomatoes that will grow a huge vine, and they'll keep on growing until you chop them off or the plant just runs out of enough soil space to grow. There's determinates. Those are going to be a certain small height. That's going to be probably somewhere between 18 and 24 inches. And then once the plant gets to that height, it's going to set all its flowers, and all fruit's going to set at the same time. And then with indeterminate tomatoes, it'll keep on growing, keep on setting flowers. As long as it's getting enough nutrients, it's going to keep on growing. They come in grape or cherry sizes that are pretty small. Then there's pear shapes that are a little bit bigger. There is a Roma shape that is elongated. There's a slicer shape or size that's a little bit bigger for salads. And then there's the beefsteak size, which are very large. They also, I don't have any with me here, but they also come in a heart shaped. So those are called ox heart. So they're going to be pointy at the bottom, like the Romas, but they're going to be more round at the top. So like kind of imagine a cone. So those are ox heart variety tomatoes. And then those are generally large beefsteak sized tomatoes, the ox heart ones. And then they come in different colors, from white to yellow to green to blue to purple, black, red, orange, pink. So tomatoes are amazing, and there's so much variety to them. So if all you can do is pick up a seedling at the grocery store, then pick up a seedling at the grocery store. If you can find some seeds, heirlooms are best, but anything is better. Homegrown tomato of any variety is better than a store-bought tomato, in my humble opinion. So with that, I will let you guys go. Have a good night, stay safe, and I will see you next week. Bye!